It's now kind of gives me a great pleasure to welcome to the stage sort of the main event. Toa is going to come up and sort of talk on his story, and someone who, of course, as I mentioned earlier, you know, I've known since school. So like it's been 30 years, I think, since we've seen each other. To sit down and interview him, obviously one of our more beloved playwrights and film directors. Please, big round of applause for Toa Fraser.
Thank you very much, everybody. Morning, Dominic. I think so. Shall we sit down?
Yeah, might as well.
I don't know. Hello. Thanks for coming, everybody. So great, and thank you so much for the coffee this morning. I'm going to have a little bit more while you talk, Dom.
Yeah.
No?
Well, I guess there's so many different places that I'd love to take a chat with you, and I haven't. You know, we used to travel together to school every single day. And I never would have thought in my wildest dreams that you would then go on to have this incredible career that you've had. And so before we get to what we're here to talk about, I kind of want to start with that creativity that you have. You know, you've got obviously an incredible mind. You've created such amazing projects with your imagination. You know, when did you realize, at what age did you go, this is a career or a path that I want to head towards?
Thanks, Dom. As you mentioned, we both went to Sacred Heart, which was a bit more of a sporty school. And, you know, I had hopes of becoming an All Black, I guess, like everybody else, or everybody else at that school. But a particularly strong first 15 that year. Four first 15 players in the New Zealand secondary schools team. So my All Black career was pretty short, or my All Black dreams were pretty short-lived. But at the time, I was also developing with my friend Steve Tofa, actually, a little side project called Nico Thunderbolt, which was a screenplay about a Samoan cop in the year 2025 in Auckland, where it's like a police state and all this stuff. But yeah, those are our teenage dreams, and I was lucky enough to have a couple of successful plays that I wrote, I guess, at the end of my university career, and then took off from there. I feel very grateful for the career that I've been able to have. I feel grateful to be working, you know, still working. I feel grateful to be here talking to you all. And in fact, I feel grateful, weird as it is, maybe that. Well, actually, no. I will say that I feel very grateful, extremely grateful to the diagnosis, the people that diagnosed me. Back almost 10 years ago, I think it's 9 years ago now. In 2012, I was directing a documentary, a ballet sort of concert movie with the Royal New Zealand Ballet. This time of the year, actually, in December, which is always tricky. I don't know if you agree, Andy, and my fellow Parkinson's colleagues in the audience. December's a particularly tricky. I'm ranting. Tell me to stop, Dom.
No, you're not.
December, particularly tricky time of the year with the heat and everything. People go crazy in Auckland, So we were making this documentary, and I remember, you know, pointing and my finger doing that, and my hand going like that. And you know, for a director, it's kind of a problem, when you can't really point with any sort of authority. And it affected my confidence for a good couple of years after that. So when I did finally get the diagnosis and then some training in terms of don't sort of meekly, sort of half-heartedly point, because that's when the tremor's going to kick in. Point like that.
Yeah, well, I want to jump in there because in some ways, the story, working on films, working in production, you're a leader. You're also a teacher. You're also someone that is there to guide other people, right? And so when we're talking about the why you're here, the why you want to be a part of this movement, you know, how much joy did you get and do you continue to get on bringing people up? And when you're on a film set, teaching people and helping people, because it's such a huge part of any film. It's a team, it's a community of people that come together. So just speak to the community and how much you personally get out of giving in that way.
being a film director, and I guess I've done mostly TV and big shows like Sweet Tooth for Netflix, so more recently, and Spartacus actually here recently with a whole bunch of really incredible New Zealand creatives and stunt teams, and being in the middle of that kind of melee and maelstrom of people with real creative skills and talents. I always said, as a director, you're just standing in the middle, really, and you're watching everybody work. So as a person with Parkinson's, it's a particularly awesome place to be because people bring you food and you can sit down as long as you want, and it's all on schedule. People tell you where you got to be at a particular time, and, real life is a little bit more challenging than that. I've lost my train of thought. One of the things that Morris articulates so wonderfully about Parkinson's, I'm so grateful to you, Morris, is the sort of train of thought thing. Because I think, people look at the movement stuff and they say there's a person with Parkinson's, and that's as far as the understanding goes for a lot of people. However, the sleep disorder stuff, the mental game is very, very challenging. To give you an idea of a typical night with Parkinson's, last night was a good night. I had a really good sleep. I woke up naturally at 4 a.m., went for a walk, 7K walk up all the way at Mount Albert, which is our daily sort of thing. 2 nights ago, however, it was not quite that easy. So I was up in the middle of the night. I was trying to watch La Dolce Vita to fall asleep. I was trying, all my tricks went out, trained, did some weights at 3 o'clock in the morning, got into my wife's car to try to fall asleep in there because it's a little bit like an aeroplane, put some white noise on in there. That's a kind of a more typical night's sleep. I'm really going all over the place here, Dom.
No, you're
sorry, mate.
I think, the question and really the point I want to make is that you're incredibly brave, but you're a leader in the career that you've chosen, right? You're the kind of general up the front that's telling people what to do and pointing, as you say, directly to make sure things happen. And then this Parkinson's happens, but you continue to be a leader. You're continuing to work. And I think, as I mentioned, my partner who's actually here, she's just turned up, Esther, and her grandmother, and it's Parkinson's now becomes everything shit that she is, and I think that the point I'm trying to make is that you are Toa, this incredible creative person that has this thing called Parkinson's, right? And I think it's really important to make the distinction and how brave you are, but also how important it is to continue to live and get the most out of life. So as much as you've got this thing, how much in your daily life are you pushing forward and being here today because you want to show people it doesn't have to be this thing that is the end, which I think for a lot of people that are uneducated is the way that they feel?
I mean, I've said a couple of times I feel really lucky and grateful. One of the other reasons that I feel so lucky and grateful is because of the deep brain stimulation surgery that I had last year at Auckland City Hospital. That was a game changer for me. So for those of you who don't know about this particular process, you go into surgery, they cut your head open, and they stick 2 electrodes, rods down into the subthalamic nucleus, which is a part of your brain that's as big as your fingernail, little fingernail, I believe. They're trying to get these 2 rods on one side, one rod on one side and the other rod on the other side of this thing that's about as big as that, so that then can put a battery in your chest and stimulate your brain through that process. It's an incredible technology, and I feel so grateful to the team and everybody so my mate, Johan over there. Sorry. Completely. Hey, Johan, I just want to say welcome to you, brother. Thank you very much for coming. And sorry.
I think that you mentioned Morris, and we've heard from Daniel. There's this amazing groundswell, and it really does feel like a movement. And that's what, with Allpress and others, we are pushing towards creating something that people can really get behind. So having people like yourself get up here and say, hey, look, this is something that's happening to me, but I'm still out there. As Daniel said, you're in the middle of shooting. You'll literally come on your lunch break or morning break to come and be here with us. But speak to the other people in your life. You mentioned your wife, your family, your friends, and how amazing they've been. Obviously, I know it would have been challenging for them in some ways, but how much has their support meant to keep you in sort of the mindset that you're in?
That is one of the most challenging things for, I imagine, most people with young onset Parkinson's, is trying to still have a career, but also still fulfilling your responsibilities as a father and as a husband. I got married this year, very grateful for that. And at the wedding, my daughter, who's 13 now, said this incredible, beautiful speech about how grateful she has been for Nairi coming into our lives, because she felt so much responsibility for my Parkinson's when she was like 9 years old and it was only us in the house. There's this big sort of myth going around that I'm in production for something at the moment, which is not true. Today is a typical day in the life of a sort of film director between gigs. As I said, when I'm in production, everything feels much smoother. Today, I had to take the kids to school. That's challenging. After this, I'm going to pick up my wife from hospital because she got foot surgery the other day. That's really challenging. Helping people, in normal life, doing the dishes, chopping up vegetables, cooking chickens, all that sort of thing. Very, very challenging.
And I think it's so important to really spotlight the work that Morris is doing and the fact that you had this operation last year which really improved your situation. So if you're trying to speak to where we are on the journey, hoping for that hockey stick where maybe your kids don't have a world with Parkinson's in it, right? How important is the work that they're doing? And, how do you feel when you think about the fact that you're here could have a follow-on effect where that could be a future that we're all living in?
My grandfather had Parkinson's, Jack Fraser, and at the time he died in 1978. And I believe, deep brain stimulation surgery wasn't even invented at that time. So, the research and the technological science breakthroughs since 1978 to now, just go to show the complete difference. My grandfather wouldn't have had that surgery. He would have just been on Cinnamate, I guess, in those days, without, very much other sort of knowledge around the disease. So to think that my kids or my grandchildren or, other people's children might have the opportunity to nip it in the bud, get, as you said, Morris, an opportunity to go to the doctors when they're maybe in their 40s and get the disease at a very early stage is incredibly important.
And I guess you look, in closing, we're coming together, this small group of people this morning, really giving up our time to help push this along. And I know that that's an important part of why you're here as well. When you try and think about your why, beyond being a film director and a dad and a husband and all these other things that you're doing, how important is this journey with Parkinson's been to, dare I say, rewarding, the positivities that have come out of something which most people would be like, I can't see a positive.
It's a weird thing, but it's definitely led me to a more truthful and more authentic and, dare I say, a more spiritual life, being open to optimism and being open to the idea of hope. You kind of have to be with this disease. People that I've met through the disease and opportunities that have come my way because of this thing, I feel very grateful for that. I feel grateful for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you for coming.
Well, I guess, while I've got you here, when you think about Parkinson's, I know a little, you know a lot, and I think I'd love to know what are the misconceptions that you feel as someone that's been living it with now for 10 years that people think and you're like, that's not accurate, or that's actually not what it's like.
One thing as a film director, people expect you to be a particular kind of way, very authoritative, very loud, and Sergeant Majorish. I guess one of the things that I've learned is how to be a director in a completely different way. And, kind of quieter, more compassionate, more collaborative, dare I say it, more fun, kind of safer director in a way. I don't like going long hours, so everybody enjoys working with me because they get to go home early. Was that the question? That wasn't the question, really.
Yeah, more just saying any misconceptions that you'd like to clear up.
Yes, misconceptions that I'd like to clear up.
I think what you're saying is profound, though, where something happens to you like Parkinson's, and it's just about things being different, not necessarily better or worse. You just find new ways to do that. And I guess almost sort of as a last question, you're now in this position where you've become somewhat of a spokesperson, and all the amazing work that's being done here. And there's a lot of people, as we can see, that are sharing their story very bravely to sort of put it out there with the intention of perhaps encouraging someone to being able to donate or getting the message out there, putting this in the spotlight. How rewarding has that been? And, sort of any last thoughts as to how much gratitude you do have for the people in your life and in this community that are pushing so hard for changing the world that we live in to perhaps not have Parkinson's in it?
Yeah, I'm so grateful to all of you for turning out today. It's time of the year, and this particular time in world history that we've all got maybe so many demands on our time and our generosity. So thank you very, very much. Shall we all do some push-ups? Let's all do some push-ups. Dom, let's do some push-ups.
As soon as we're done, we'll start.
So we're all going to do some push-ups.
You want to lead
now.
or do you want me to lead?
I'll lead. So the thing is with the push-ups, right, is I always like to get actors to do a simple physical exercise before we do a rehearsal. Because it gets you out of your brain and into your body. So we're either going to do some push-ups, but maybe we'll just do some arm swinging stuff. I'll lead that. I'll just put this here. So the first thing we're going to do is, we should have done this at the start really. So everybody stand up. Come on, everybody. Okay, here we are. All we're going to do is we're going to swing arms like this. We're going to shift our weight to one side like that. We're all feeling so much better. And here's Morris. What do you got to say for yourself, Morris, this morning? Thank you for being here. You're a little bit late, I think, but what happened on your journey that you're a little bit late this morning? Morris?
Dragged me into school.
Yes, excellent. All right, so that's great now. So this is what I do when we're doing like a line reading at the beginning of rehearsal. So suddenly I'm feeling so much more confident leading everybody. So now we're going to do a little back bend. We're going to lean back like this, breathe in. We're going to lean forward like this. We're going to breathe out, bending at the hips. And we're going to come back up. And we're going to lean back like that. And then we're going to lean forward like this and breathe out. And then if you feel comfortable down here, we may just hang down here for a little while the blood rushes into your brain. And you feel all that great energy going into your brain right there. Just going to hang here for a little while we all feel grateful for the opportunity to be here. Yeah. So I guess what I'm also saying is that one of the great things about Parkinson's is that it's kind of a simple disease in the end, really. It's like all the things that are good for Parkinson's are actually basically good for everybody. Things like getting exercise, getting enough sleep, stretching, what else? Nutrition, things that trying to limit your stress, trying to go home early, as I said before, spend time with your family. So one of the things that I feel grateful for with the Parkinson's is that I've been able to develop this sort of spidey sense, I guess, this tingle whenever there's a fearful or stressful situation, like speaking in front of a whole group of people. so much easier to do this sort of thing. So thank you very much for participating in this little physical exercise. Oh, let's all have a round of applause for each other. Came up a bit too quickly then.
So, really, we just want to thank you for being here, sharing your story, and I think just giving all of us an insight into the positives and the challenging parts of your journey. But we're, and certainly speaking personally, immensely proud of the incredible success that you've had, but even more so for the leader that you've become in this space. And I think I speak for everyone here and the organisation Cure Parkinson's New Zealand that we are super grateful and excited to continue the journey with you. And look, if you ever decide to get into exercise class leading, I will be there. I will sign up to every single class. But ladies and gentlemen, please, a big round of applause. Toa Fraser, the one and only. And look, that kind of wraps up the formalities, guys. Thanks to Dan and the Allpress team. Everybody's leaving with their own little keep cups, so grab one of those on the way out.
Free stuff.
And of course, as Toa said, try and live the life that he was just talking about, where it's eating well. Drinking coffee is another one. That's good. Yeah. You're allowed to do that. Make sure it's Allpress. And thank you so much for being here, and I guess giving up your time. As Toa said, it's a very busy time of year, so we really appreciate it. And thank you to Marco and Penn and the whole team for putting this together. I know he's equally as passionate about this movement, and so we feel very grateful to have all of you here today. So thank you so much. Thank you for coming. Thank you to Morris. You're going to get back to work this afternoon and get us going, but super grateful, guys. Thank you so much.
Nice,